Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning at the National Pension Summit. My name is Julian Lyne, and I'm the Executive Director of Market Oversight at the Pensions Regulator here in the UK. The title of my speech this morning is Learnings from the UK, Challenges in a Post-Auto-Enrolment and Master Trust World, from a country that is further ahead on a journey. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of where we are in the UK, in terms of workplace pensions and their regulations, how we got here, the challenges we face, and how we are approaching those challenges. As a starter, and as you most likely already know, in the UK, there are two pension regulators split between two areas of pensions. My organisation, the Pension Regulator, regulates trust-based schemes, and in particular, workplace pensions. And then there's the Financial Conduct Authority, which regulates contract-based schemes. And more on those relationships in a moment. So let's begin by turning to the challenges we are, as TPR, seeking to address. As regulator, our agenda reflects the central public policy challenges of the pension system. Our key areas of concern include making sure savers, members, get value for money, the structure of the market, such as encouraging consolidation to get better outcomes for savers, raising the standard of trusteeship, making sure savers are better prepared, supported, and informed about their options at retirement, and lastly, helping savers take control of their pension journey with information dashboards, and also helping schemes fulfill their legal duties to provide those dashboards. But before I say more about each of these topics, I want to put them in the context as we move from one era of pensions to another, a story which I'm sure you're very familiar with. So, how did we get here? As you know, the previous era of pensions in the UK was defined by a set of familiar assumptions. Most people retire at a certain age. They live modestly for a decade and rely on their state and workplace pension for income. Back in 2000s, though, a central policy change was increasing participation in workplace pensions against a backdrop of increasing life expectancy, meaning more people would need to support themselves in retirement and for longer. But only a minority of workers were saving, and this was the crux of the policy issue. Before we entered an auto-enrolment world, just 42% of private sector employees who would later become eligible for auto-enrolment were enrolled in a workplace pension. And that figure was not rising, it was falling. Now, thanks to concerted policy action, there are now 11 million new savers, and 8 in 10 workers now save into a workplace pension in the UK. Of course, this massive influx of millions of savers brought new risks. And so in 2018, the government introduced a regulatory framework for master trusts, including the requirement that only those authorised by the Pensions Regulator were allowed to operate. So, turning to the challenges of today. Today, in the UK, master trusts account for around 90% of DC memberships. The vast majority of members are concentrated in the largest 5 schemes by assets under management. But we are still in a period of transition. That is partly because we have the pension scheme bill making its way through Parliament at the moment. And for me, the key themes that are included here, the push for fewer but larger schemes, guided retirement planning, provision for defined benefit super funds to manage legacy liabilities more securely, and value for money for members, of course. But we, as TPR, are also in a period of transition because our mission is evolving to address a set of concerns that is broader than it certainly used to be. It includes asking questions about security. Are workplace pension savers benefits secure and delivered as promised? Getting better value for savers. Again, do workplace pension savers benefit from world-class performance which generates a sustainable income in retirement? And wider participation. Can we make sure citizens have fair access and opportunity across the workplace pension system? And because our regulatory focus is changing from an emphasis on numbers enrolled and compliance with minimum set of standards to incentivising behaviour, that is more likely to mean that schemes are well run, making sure governance is effective, and that trustees are skilled, independent, and forward-looking. The market as a whole is sustainable and resilient. That doesn't just mean delivering better outcomes for savers, it also means potentially supporting long-term growth and prosperity, which of course also contributes to better outcomes for savers. And we're also encouraging a seamless and integrated system. In other words, making sure that the end-to-end savings journey from joining a pension scheme to taking an income in retirement is connected to how people live their lives. We're moving from a saving system to a pension system. So, if we look at today's challenges, in the remaining time, I wanted to give you a brief tour of the central challenges as we see them. First, and I make no apology for this, making sure savers are getting value for money. But crucially, that doesn't mean just costs. It means investment performance and service quality. We are currently working with the UK government and the Financial Conduct Authority on a value for money framework, which will require pension providers to assess their schemes based on those criteria. The search for value for money runs through everything we do at TPR. It informs our guidance for trustees and administrators, and it's the key reason why we care about consolidation and scale, and is central to our push to greater innovation. We're introducing a traffic light system, which will mean UK pension schemes will have to publicly disclose investment performance, costs, and service quality. And that will make it easier for savers to compare and contrast schemes and help drive competition. Our belief is that better performing schemes will deliver for the members, but also attract more business, a virtuous cycle. Secondly, encouraging consolidation is a way of getting better outcomes for savers. We're clear that one of the barriers to enable more savers to get better outcomes is the structure of the workplace pension market, which today remains too fragmented with too many assets still in smaller pots. That means too many savers don't get the benefits of scale, better governance, experience investing a wide range of assets that we believe may deliver better outcomes, and again, driving better value for money. And related to that challenge is the third challenge, raising the standards of trusteeship. In an environment with fewer, larger schemes, it's more important than ever that they are well run. Right now, there are gaps, for example, in investment in technology, new skills, data quality, and resilience to cyber attacks. So as part of our work is acting as a prudential regulator, opening an effective dialogue with the key actors in the marketplace so they take governance seriously, understand that they can't delegate their responsibilities away, and ensure the pension schemes invest in the right skills and systems. If I look at the fourth challenge, it's about making sure that savers are better prepared, supported, and informed for their options at retirement. The success of auto-enrollment does not automatically mean that people are supported financially later in life. Too many people risk losing value when they come to access their pension pots. People need to make sense of decisions that can be complex. At the moment, retirement, people risk losing value as only 1 in 5 have a plan for how to access their funds. We also have to make sure that the intersection between workplace and private savings works smoothly in terms of costs and advice. And that is why the law is changing, and the guided retirement duty is set to require trustees to make DC scheme members have good default options with good support to choose another road should they choose. We are working with the Department for Work and Pensions and the Financial Conduct Authority to monitor and test with stakeholders the detailed design of default pension plans. We want trustees to consider the design, the cost, and the overall value of decumulation strategies so that they are ready when those duties come into force. Challenge 5 is helping savers take control of their pension journey. Later this year, a legal duty for schemes to provide data dashboards comes into force. We hope that this requirement will drive transparency and help savers take control of their pension journey. We also hope that the requirement will incentivize trustees to treat data as a strategic asset and improve standards in terms of holding data digitally and improve confidence in accuracy. It's an area where further regulatory interventions may be needed later in the year. Now that's quite a to-do list, and that's even before we talk about adequacy. These challenges require a different regulatory mindset, and toolkit from the previous era. We are moving towards a prudential approach, which means looking not just at compliance and enforcement, but also at risks to the system as a whole, its solvency, its sustainability, and the macroeconomic and long-term risks involved. And these challenges entail working closely with our partners in the UK pension system, the UK government, and the Financial Conduct Authority. For example, the joint value for money framework I alluded to earlier. So, having been invited to talk to you today about the challenges from a country further ahead on the journey, I would love to be able to tell you that the challenges which lie ahead are less substantial. But as you can see, that is not the case. But the flip side is that addressing these challenges head on is a great opportunity to create meaningful and substantive improvement in the quality of life for millions of people in the decades ahead. Thank you.